Senator, good to see you. Speaking of clear air, the Prime Minister is certainly not getting any at the moment. How would you describe his week?
I think he's had a shocking week. I think he's really starting to feel the pressure. He's really looks like he's in turmoil there. I've always said about the PM, especially with Scott Morrison himself, the character of him. I've always made this quite clear. I'm not a big fan of his. I don't believe he's a leader. And once this bloke gets a bit of pressure on him, he's going to fall apart. And that is exactly what you're seeing now. That is not somebody I want leading this country.
Right. So I'm assuming then you've got no sympathy for him, even though, you know, during this week he had these text messages that were said to him in a very public way that were purposely designed to humiliate him with all of the cameras in front of him. So no sympathy on that front.
Absolutely not. You have to say, if your own are now coming after you and trying to humiliate you, I reckon you're pretty much gone. If that's the way your own people are treating their own leader, you've got to have a look at your own leadership, mate, and I reckon you don't have a great deal of it, and that's why they're coming for you. This is absolutely shocking for the Liberal Party that's about to go into election, that they're actually falling apart. I could have guessed this. I've second-guessed this. I said 2 years ago he wouldn't last the mile, and I reckon he's about gone.
Who done it, Senator? Who's the mole, do you think?
To be honest with you, most of us really don't care, Pete. I'll be honest with you. More we're worried about, I've got supermarket shelves that are half full here in Tasmania. I've got people where petrol's going through the roof. I've got house prices going through the roof, and I've got more homeless people out on the streets, let alone what's going on in our aged care where people can't go and see their grandparents or their parents. That's what they're worried about. For this is schoolyard prep stuff. They're not interested. They couldn't get us stuff. And if they're going to spend the day, him and the Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby Joyce, out there more worried about trying to catch the person that sent this text message, then God help the country. That's where we're at this morning.
We just had Craig Laundy on the show, and he thinks as things stand, it may well be heading, and it's just a prediction at this stage, towards a Labor minority government. How would you feel about that? If that turned out to be the case and then the Greens ended up having much more of a say?
Well, I think, I don't think the play's not in the lower house these days. It seems to be with those independents that are running in that Senate. So I guess we'll see what happens. But right now, after 9 or 10 years under the coalition government, and it's gone from bad to worse, surely we've got to give somebody else a go. Does that mean Labor's going to bend over to the Greens? Who knows, mate? But right now, we don't have a fourth option out there. That's where this country's at. I made it really clear I'm going to try and grow, but that's really difficult. We don't take corporate and union donations. I'll try and stay in for the next 10 or 12 years. We'll have a go to be that fourth power. I can only have a shot at that, but that's not going to help over the next 6 months in the meantime. So what we can do is we can either stay with what we have. This is the choice that Australians have right now. And if you want to stay there, then be my guest. But I particularly do not. I'll be honest with you. This is all I've known since I've been a senator, is a coalition government with the Libs. So I'm prepared to nearly try something different. Right. I don't think we have any other option.
But when it comes to to riding out the pandemic, Australia, when compared to other nations, has done quite well. Our economy is in reasonably good shape. 4.2% unemployment, heading towards the threes by the end of the year. On that measure, government's done quite well. National security, government's continuing to do well. I mean, wouldn't the government have the wood over Labor?
National security's doing well, is it, Pete?
Well,
I'm in an Afghanistan inquiry yesterday, mate, and these guys can't even tell me what's going on the ground. They have no idea what terrorism's looking like today, let alone in 2 months' time. We don't have the big players sitting at the main tables around the world to make decisions on this stuff. National security's looking well? I don't think so. Not where I've been standing.
Well, what about its position against China?
Sorry, mate?
What about its tact against China?
It's attacked against China. Where's our defence system here? We're a sitting duck. We're an island nation. Where's our defences for that, mate, to fight back on that? Seriously, are you kidding me? Our military is in chaos, I can tell you. Look at the Royal Commission. Listen to what's coming out of that. Listen to the leadership in our military, let alone having a missile defence system ready to cover our own butts. That's where we're at. We've been at that for a long time. We've got submarines, let's face it, by the time they're ordered, are going to be that outdated. They're not going to be worth the pay for the money that we have paid for them or written on. That's where we're at. I tell you what, you might be confident in our national security, but I sure as hell am not.
Okay, one more, Senator, on aged care. We've spoken in the past about Richard Colbeck. There's reporting this morning that suggests there's still up to 1/3 of aged care residents still haven't had a booster jab just yet. You've got about 120 or so thousand that have had a booster, but still 60 odd thousand that haven't. What's your response to that?
That's really worrying, considering our most vulnerable in society lined up first to have the first 2 shots, and there's still well over 1/3 that haven't had their booster shot. That's really worrying. But what's even more worrying is what is going on in aged care, the lack of staff, still the lack of PPE gear, people having to go, the workers having to go and pay for their own booster shots to be in there. I say this to the Prime Minister this morning. We have family in there, we have grandparents, we have parents in there. We also have World War II veterans and Vietnam veterans in there, and some of our younger ones with traumatic brain injuries. Our Defence Force is waiting for you to call them in, mate, so we can give them a hand for the next few months until we get through this crisis. That's what they're waiting for this morning, Scott Morrison. Our people in uniform want to go and work for their country, want to go and help our most vulnerable people in society. Call them in, mate. Call them in.
You fired up this morning, Jacqui Lambie.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I've had enough, like many other Australians out there. We're just sick of it.
Okay. Senator Jacqui Lambie, always good to chat to you.
Thank you.